Hello and welcome everyone back to another GP Bikes video. Now today's video is all about making this game look slightly better on a slightly less computer and overall trying to not make it tank and just play like shit. You want to make it look somewhat better without killing it in FPS and performance. Now on most games this is quite easy to do because most games run fairly well. Unfortunately GP Bikes optimization is poor, which means even when the game looks terrible, it still doesn't run amazingly, so you have a lot of obstacles to jump and a lot of hoops to go through to really get this game to look and play well at the same time. A lot of times, even on a high-end PC, the game will look pretty poor if you wanted to run well when there's more than 15 people in a lobby. Now, what I'm going to do straight away is just go straight into the settings of this game and explain a few things in a bit of detail to help you basically get rid of immediate mistakes you're making that will cost you FPS or make the game look worse. And then I'm going to jump on and show you how to install Reshade and give you a few presets, and basically that's going to be the bones of today's video, is just getting the game to look slightly better at Reshade. Now before we get into a disclaimer, if you have a pretty low-end PC, it's going to be pretty hard for you to run this game and run a Reshade preset just because you have a secondary program in the background doing something on screen. It will cause small but maybe input lag if you have a really low-end PC, but it definitely will take away some FPS. But the ones I'll be showing off today will work seamlessly with a decent PC. Now it doesn't have to be anything special because I know not everyone out there has a big budget PC. So straight away we're going to jump into the graphics settings. So just go into your settings, go to graphics. Now up in the screen here, match your resolution to your monitor. That's pretty simple. If you go to the right, it'll pretty much go to what you have anyway. Full screen, this doesn't really matter. That just, if you have full screen borderless or windowed, it just makes the game look slightly different around the edges. Refresh rate, match this to what your monitor has. If you right click on your Windows screen and go to your display settings, you will see what your refresh rate is. Make sure your VSync off. This creates input lag. Your anti-aliasing, now this takes away that kind of really rough looking texture kind of dots, whereas things are just moving and don't look well. Now again, the higher you go, the more it strains the game. Now pretty much with every one of these settings bar one, if you move it left, it's less power needed to run. Move it right, it looks better but it takes more resources. That's pretty much the basis of it. It's low end, high end. For me, I have it up high because it makes the game look better for me. Play around with it yourself. If you have a lower end PC, I would try 4, but again that can make it look pretty bad. 8 is, I wouldn't really go below 8, but if your PC is really struggling, stick up at 8 and go down as far as 4 if you really need it. Now again, everyone's PC, everyone's monitor, everyone's game will be slightly different, so again you have to play with these a small bit, but I'm just trying to give you the platform and the base to understand what you are going ahead with. So for me, I run a full screen ratio. Just basically go to your resolution. If you have a 4:3, change it. Now I think the game will pick this up when you launch it, so this shouldn't really be an issue. Now your textures, don't adjust these because you'll have lag. If you watch my previous video about what I've learned in 500 hours on GP Bikes, you will know that I stress this immediately in the video. If you have this any bit lower than high, so medium or low, basically when someone tries to join an online lobby, it can hitch and just kind of stutter. You don't want that. That's the worst thing possible for the game. So immediately keep that high, and probably will make a bit of performance benefit if you put it down. So maybe if you're playing offline and your PC is that bad, you could adjust this, but if you are planning on playing online, just don't have this adjusted. Keep it high, keep it there. Your filtering and stuff like that, again, trilinear or bilinear. Bilinear is less processing power and stuff. Again, try around with these. I've actually not noticed much difference between either or on my end of the PC, so again, a lower end PC might make a bit better of these features, but for me, I just run on the most powerful one to make it look the best. This is same as the anti-aliasing, so again, I don't really go below 8. I'd never adjust this myself. I'll always just take the draw distance and the model detail down. That usually does it for me with the shaders. But if you are struggling, again, drop these down. And basically what I really stress to do is adjust one of these in the actual game on track, and you'll see your screen will go black for about 10 seconds. Then it says, do you want to keep this current resolution? Hit OK. And then you'll be able to see visually straight away what the differences are. So don't just start changing things randomly hoping that it'll be better. Completely whack your anti-aliasing down. Completely whack down your draw distance distance, and then just see what actually does in game. And then you'll go, right, the draw distance, I actually don't even notice that. I can just completely have that low because it doesn't really affect me. Or the anti-aliasing, for example. So again, certain people will be more triggered by certain things in games, so make sure you just kind of find what's right for you. Personally, again, anything below 8 can look pretty scuffed, so again 8 is kind of the limit there for me. But again, like I kind of keep repeating, if your PC can't handle it, drop it down a little bit lower. Now up here in lighting, this is the big thing for me, because lighting, it happens, is dynamic, and it happens quite a bit in the game, and a lot of times you will have different parts of lighting on different parts of the track and stuff, so you will have a lot of processing power going towards this. Now, like I mentioned in the previous video, if you haven't seen it, I would check it out because there's a lot of useful information in that. But HDR is pretty much useless. It darkens some of the screen, lightens some of it. It just overall doesn't really work the way HDR works in other games. I'm also not a fan of HDR in any game. I don't run it on my TV when I'm watching Netflix or anything. I just don't like it. I think it's wasted. It kind of makes things hard to watch, hard to look at. I've seen some instances where it looks good, but for the most part HDR doesn't work, and especially in GP bikes it doesn't seem to give you anything either. So again, straight away have that off. That is instant performance. Shaders are huge when it comes to performance. This is the big thing for me. Now basically when you turn off shaders, it immediately turns off reflections. Now the box is ticked with a grays, I don't know. You can't, if I turn off shaders, I can't turn this on and off because they're linked together. Same to HDR. So if you turn off shaders, you're basically turning off all of these. If you turn off the shaders, you'll see directly when you're looking at the bike that the model, for example, I will just show you, done. I might go black on your screen. So go to the showroom. Look how bland the bike looks. Look how just dead it looks and flat. Now the letters are different because I think they're run off a different overall scheme, but look how just kind of flat the bike looks. Now I'm going to go back and put it back on, and you'll see a big difference in the overall bike. You should do now if YouTube does its thing for me. So again, look how much there's a lot of reflections. It's shiny, it looks nice. I can actually see the kind of pearlescent paint. You can see a lot going on, and the game just looks so much better. Now back to the settings. Your shadows, they are not paired in with your shaders. Now it can look really weird with no shadows. I did it once in League Base because I was getting really bad stuttering and FPS, so it does again improve performance slightly. Now it looks pretty shitty in my opinion because there's just no shadows anywhere, but again, limiting your PC and stuff like that, it will help if you turn this off. Now your draw distance basically is how far things get rendered in. So if you have up maximum, items really far away will get rendered in. If you have it really low, when you're coming along straight, you'll see things in the distance basically appear as they're getting loaded in. For me, high is the limit here. If you go below this, you can actually, it can be quite trippy coming into a heavy braking zone because the gravel trap and like the outside of the board and the trees and stuff start to flicker and change as they're loaded in while you're braking, so it can be distracting. Some tracks, if you have a couple of corners in it, kind of a very straight and there's an open plan, you can really see far into distance. This can look quite bad, but it does help because you're not loading things in as much. So again, the higher you run it, it's going to look better, simple as that. But again, limit this to your PC's need. Try it out in game. This will make a decent chunk to your performance because it kind of just basically deletes things in the distance a bit more, and overall it will make a slight difference for you. Now model detail, this is just your bike and everything like that. Low will make it look really, it'll basically downscale from what I can see the livery and all that kind of stuff, so everything in game kind of gets a little less textured. It does not really affect it when you're riding, but if you're in the replay mode or any other mode, or if you're racing other bikes on track, you do actually notice it. So again, try lowering this down to medium. I wouldn't go to low because it looks really bad. But again, if your PC can only handle it, that's what you're gonna have to do, unfortunately. But for me, medium is a happy medium. It takes off a nice bit of pressure off your computer while also giving a bit of FPS, but it does just make the game look slightly worse. But again, what I'll advise you do is try and find a nice setting for this game through all these settings, and then if you can afford to go and put Reshade on, if your PC is kind of stable enough and has enough power to run it, then you will kind of neglect and kind of overlook some of these by some of these effects. So like I said, try it out, see what you get. 3D grass, again for me, that gives me issues like the HDR with black spots on screen. Don't run it. It just makes the grass a bit more in depth. it looks cool when you turn on because you see it straight away. After a lap you forget about it. It's just unnecessary performance that you don't need. So that's pretty much everything in this. Now I'm going to jump over now to installing Reshade, but the only thing is I will be installing it on MX bikes because it's already installed for me on GP bikes. I'm going to go back to the main menu. If I hit the home button, you see this big tab. Now I have a few presets in here. Now if I record this way, the game in the background should kind of change color. See the way that's changed now like that? It's much darker. This is Peck's GP Bikes photo preset. He has 2 of them. So just keep an eye on the color of the bikes. Again, if I recorded this right, they should be changing color and stuff like that. This is a pretty extensive. Now, just for anyone who doesn't know what Reshade is, you can add a load of effects and stuff. We're going to just go and play with this. So this is test. We're going to just go to clarity. So if you can see that on and off, it does change a lot of stuff. It's brightening the colors a bit for me there. Now there's so many things you can do. Look what I just did there. So it's really blows up, gives a bit of a blue tint. So again, you can make your own custom ones, or you can actually just go, like you see I have this weird color pull on now where the greens have gone purple and all weird looking things. But anyway, again, like I said, you can make your own, but like unless you know what half these are, you're really going to struggle to do anything. What's color matrix do? Again, kind of similar weird color pull. You can dehaze. There's loads of these things that will take off. Now again, you might see a lot of these will make the game look amazing, but they're heavy on your PC. Even my PC, which is pretty good. I'll throw my PC specs in at the video at some point. I'll probably put it in at the start just for reference. Even if I put on some of these heavier effects, unfortunately it does kill the game because of the way tracks and bikes are loaded into the game, and just the overall functioning game that is GP Bikes is not optimized to the best. Again, look, there's loads of these little things. Like, look at that, that's not playable. Look how cool it looks. There's so many little things in this menu here you can drop down. There's so much you can do. Now I'll keep clicking things and stuff like that, so I'm not going to go any further with this. For me, I've loaded presets. You can see this one really blows out kind of exposure and stuff like that. They're great for pictures. A lot of them are not the best for writing. Now I believe, yeah, this one here, we'll go back one. I will link these and Reshade in the description. This one here, I don't know what who created it. I believe this one is from MX Bikes, and the reason we're also doing on MX Bikes is I just haven't installed it there is the main reason. But also you can take any MX Bikes preset and put it into this game because it's basically the same game. Vice versa, if you have a GP Bikes one you want to put back, you can do, but there's maybe 5 available for GP Bikes, where there's just hundreds available for MX Bikes, and they all kind of give a different feel, and a lot of them are just ones that kind of just slightly make the game look better without trying to kill your performance. A lot of people are in the same boat where they don't have a high-end PC and they want to make the game look better, but also they don't want to have 30 FPS, and that is the big thing. This game is trying to get it to run and make it look good. But now we're going to jump over just to the install and how we get Reshade on it and get it going, and then I'll just show off some on-track action of what Reshade can actually do for your PC and just your overall look of the game. So this is the main website for Reshade. Now all you have to do is hit this download button. It'll bring you to another page and download Reshade. Now again, if you're watching this in the future, the version will probably be different. Download the first one, install it into your main PC. Now when you open this, it's going to have a whole launcher that you're going to have to go into. So here we go. Now you have all the stuff that's on my PC. Now a lot of time you actually won't find MX Bikes or GP Bikes. Now you can search it, which is what we're going to do, MX Bikes, and it comes straight up. Now on this instance, you're going to type in GP Bikes. Now you can also browse here, which will go through basically this pathway, and you can find the game if it isn't coming up. For most PCs, GP Bikes should come up straight away. For reference, it won't come up for me because it's already done, but we just go next. Now typically OpenGL is always the way I was told go with this. Now if you're having a lot of issues, you can try all 4 of these by just going back and doing it. It's just what way they're rendered. OpenGL has always been the best for me, and it's always been recommended for proposals games to me, so that's what we're going to use today. So it's asking us to select the preset. Now if you skip, it gives you the base ones, which we're going to do in it. Go up here, you have all these ones, and you can add all of them. You can uncheck all, check all, depends on what to do. They all do different things. If you want them all, just kind of look through. There's lots of different ones, and you can kind of decide what you want and what won't want on it. For me, I'm going to just have them all and add, and then go to next. Right, and once that has finished downloading, it downloads everything individual, so it might take a minute or so. You just hit finish, and that is pretty much everything done. So now I'm going to launch MX Bikes just to show it off for the basic setup, and then we'll jump back to GP Bikes. Right, then we have MX Bikes loading, and when you get in, you should see a pop-up on screen. You see it here. Now, Reshade is now successfully installed. Please press home to start the tutorial. Now, it will give you a full tutorial that we're not going to go through today. It just shows you a lot, but basically on your keyboard, you see a home button. Press that. Now, when you first install it, it is very stuttery. Now, I don't even have control yet of the cursor in the background. Bear with it a second. You're after adding something into the game, it can take a minute or so just to figure itself out. But once you've done it once, it doesn't really affect you anymore. So just bear with it a second and you should be golden. So now it is ready. It's leaving me use the cursor, so we can press home, and it has a whole drop down menu. You can do all these add-on settings, statistics, log, and all this stuff. So basically, go to your settings, statistics. You can see it as well gives you your FPS. So again, it is quite well known that it will take a FPS hit by putting this on, but the actual program itself will give you software that can change things around so you can actually see what's going on. Now, you have to go through the whole tutorial to get it to work, but I'm going to just skip it, and then it gives you this menu. So for me, I don't have any installed into MX Bike, so it just has this basic Reshade preset. So if I want to make one, I have to do it. But to prove it's working, I'll just hit AMD Fidelity. I've not done anything with it. Okay, maybe not. So there we go. You've seen now put on this really bloomy looking thing in the background. So if you pressed home again, it'll end. Now you can see everything's really blown out for me and everything's really white and shiny. So again, that's just kind of one of those things you can do. But we're going to jump back to GP bikes now, and I'm going to show off a few of my favorite ones and what to do in game. So we are in game. We're at Barcelona on V4R, and we're going to just basically cycle through some of the presets. Now, in the bottom right corner of the screen, you should see the number 87 in green. Just flicker to 86. That is my FPS counter. Now, you should be able to watch that throughout the rest of this video at this point of the video, especially just to see when I'm turning on and off these different presets what it's actually doing. So we're going to go, and so basically as well, if you go into the settings, you can also turn off Reshade. Now for me, if I just hit home, look at this, look how beautiful this looks. Now some people mightn't like this, it might look really kind of bright and colourful and just not nice to them, but I think this looks bloody fantastic. Now unfortunately, this is PEX preset 1, I believe, and it does eat FPS at most tracks. So unless you're at a really well optimized track or you don't have many people on track or stuff, it's not really the best for riding. Now it is a photo preset, I think that's the name is what it's called. So like I said, it will link pretty much everything I do refer to in the video down in the description, so you'll have some sort of idea of where to find these stuff. But you're going to see how beautiful the game looks, and just it covers up a lot of the game's flaws and stuff. Now like I said, if you want to make your own, by all means go ahead, but it will take a lot of trial and error to see what works, what doesn't work, what kills FPS. You can see as it comes around the corner, the kind of lens flare from the light from this guy over there. Now I hope YouTube doesn't screw me over when the processing happens and make this looks really flat, but on my screen here in front of me at 2K, it looks pretty damn colourful and beautiful. Now we're going to pull over again now, and I'm going to just hit the end button, which for me turns off Reshade, and you see, look how dull the game looks now. Go back. Look at that. What a difference it makes. So we're going to just ride around for a second like this, just show off how the game looks on its own. Now like I said, it does really come down to what PC you have and what your actual performance wise you have. Now for me, this was a test. This is one I can just change around and play around with myself. I found this one here, Wagyu FX Natural. I believe this is an MX Bikes one. This is one of the more, so we go home, we go on, it looks really dark and really high contrast stuff. Again, it looks absolutely stunning, but unfortunately just a bit heavy on the FPS. Now this isn't as bad as PEX one, so we go forward one more to this one. Now this one is quite subtle, I must admit. It doesn't make a huge difference, it just brightens everything up, a bit more colour, a bit more overall the lighting looks better. So most of my videos you would have seen, this is what you would have seen. So again, it doesn't look a million miles from the base game. If we go back and forth while we're riding, it won't be stunningly beautiful, but it doesn't really eat any FPS on my PC, so that makes a big difference to me when I can run this. Even in league races I can run this, I don't even have to turn off. It actually is that good. Now we're going to roll in straight. I'm going to just filter it on and off. So change the sky, track changes, the letters pop a bit more, everything just pops a bit more, and it's just nice to look at. So that is pretty much everything for today. Like I said, everything will be in the description. If you have any questions, you let me know in the comments. I'll try and get back to you as best I can. But I hope you have enjoyed today. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of trial and error with this because everyone's PC is slightly different and stuff like that. But I hope it does help in some way, shape or form. But I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.